UNA University for me. UNA. Welcome to your paradise, the place you long for all your life. UNA University, manifesting all your dreams. With paradise, your land is home. Writing contracts on your own. Protect your loved ones every day. Knowledge goes a long, long way. UNA University for me. UNA University for me. UNA Paradise all your life. University all your dreams. Land is home on your own every day. Long, long way. UNA University for me. Yeah, welcome to your paradise, the place you long for all your life. Yours truly, Diva Lyri in the house, rocking with you. Halo, halo, welcome, 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 and welcome. Yes, 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 yes. UNA. Yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. I'm yours truly, Diva Lyri in the house, representing for UNA Republic and UNA University, where we help you find your social freedom, your financial freedom, and most importantly, your spiritual freedom. Let's go. All right. Welcome everybody on YouTube, Althea, Halo, Elkiman, Halo, Nubian, welcome, and Halo, Lania. I want you to know I appreciate you so much. So glad to have you here. We're going to get into it today. We're talking about Moors versus Moors. Listen, we're not having no outbursts on this session. If you have a comment or a question, just put it in the comment section like you got intelligence, and I'm going to answer it. I promise. Just ask it with intelligence or make the statement with intelligence. We're not having no outbursts today. I'm just making that clear. That's the rules. I want to welcome everybody. 13J, welcome. All right, so we're going into this topic, Moors versus Moors. And, you know, this is a heated debate. You know, a lot of people get upset with me. You are division or separatist. You're causing division. Listen, I want y'all to understand this. Until the truth has been exposed, there will be no unity. I need you to get this. You can't just keep pretending that this is this and this and this and standing on lies. It doesn't work that way. So we've got to unmuddy these waters. And that's what I'm here to do today. We're going to get into it. Moors versus Moors, M-U-U-R-S, unpacking historical infighting. Okay, before we get into that, I need everybody to know my book is out. It's called Tapping Into Your Supernatural Power. This is a very powerful book for women and men as well, but especially and in particular women. You need to know who you are and what has been hidden from you. Okay, this is a wonderful book, even if I say so myself. It's got a lot of references in here for all of the topics we talk about. It's got great images. I love the images. As I talked about the references here, it also has a QR code so that you can access the actual audio of the book. All right, so this is just, it's a wonderful book packed with information. Women, if you've ever wondered, what's keeping you from tapping into source or your supernatural powers, this book goes into it. We're going into the molecular side of who the woman is, the molecular side of who the male is, and why certain things happen, lies that have been told to you, things that you didn't know, why you have a difficult time tapping into your powers. Some of the questions that I've had people to ask a lot, which is why this book was spawned, is, for example, how to give birth without a male. It's in this book. We talk about that. Periods. How do you deal with your periods? How do you disappear your periods? It's in this book. All right, so I want you to go to unauniversity.com, unauniversity.com. Get this book. All right. Oh, y'all can't see it. I'm sorry. Here, let me put it up like this. All right, get this book. And I'm telling you, tap into your supernatural powers, because I can't tell you, I've done years, and I mean years of research on this, years of research. And there's a lot of things or questions that I used to ask that I had to do research on that nobody ever talks about. Periods, for one, and I'm going to move on. But for example, periods. I've heard people say, oh, you can stop your period. You can stop the period. But then they wouldn't say anything else. I've heard 3 people who were very in-depth about, the body and taking care of it and all of that. But they never go into what I go into, because I had to do the research. They said you can do it, and I was like, well, you can. Well, let me find out how. The book, all right? Tapping into your supernatural powers. Find it at unauniversity.com. You can get the digital version as well as the physical copy, all right? And the physical copies, they do come autographed. Okay, so now let's get into this. The next thing, the membership trust package. A lot of what we're going to talk about when we're talking about Moors versus Moors, M-U-U-R-S, the so-called Indians, we're going to get into that today. But this membership trust package, a lot of it deals with these topics that we're going to be talking about. With this trust package, it deals with all of your documentation for creating your personal trust. It deals with a membership badge. It comes with a membership badge and a allodial ID. This allodial ID has your spiritual name on it, all right? And it also on the back has a QR code here where you can always access your documents. So once we help you with your trust, we're going to put it on record with UNA. We're going to put it on record with our county. And we're going to make sure that anytime you need to access the certified copies, you can access it with this QR code, which you're going to always have access to this. Also, it comes with an education. That's most important, because these are powerful tools, yes. But if you don't know how to use them, it's like having the most powerful weapon on the planet. But a bear jumps out at you and you don't know how to take the safety off the gun. Well, it's not going to help you. So if you have knowledge of how to use this tool, that's how it works for you. Okay. Also, we're going to put them on record for you. All right. This is the membership trust. I can't tell you how much of a value this is. And I get it. Until I raise the price so astronomically, you won't respect it. For those of y'all in your right mind, you know what value this is. Get it. Go to unauniversity.com and enroll so we can send you or get you enrolled in this, and you can get your trust package. Okay. I'm trying to help you, but yeah, it's going to come a time when it's going to be so astronomical. You're going to go, well, how is I supposed to? Okay. You've been warned. Also, don't forget about the beginner law book. Okay. The UNA beginner law book. This is the physical copy. With this physical copy, you're going to get an additional hierarchy of laws chart. You're going to get an additional universal law chart, and you're also going to get an additional vibratory frequency chart. Why are we including these? Because we want you to put these up on your walls, on your mirrors, on your refrigerator, so that these laws become a part of you. That's very important. And when you're staring at them every day, all right, when something ticks you off and you find yourself in this lower vibratory frequency, this is going to help you come back up here to love and peace and joy. Come back up here. So you want to have a reminder. Also, if you get the physical copy, you're going to get the societal totem pole as well as the civilization cycle. The beginner law book also has inside of it all of your maxims of law, 200 and something of them, all right? As I've said many times, if I'm going into a court, I'm putting these laws down first. I'm making it and establishing the fact that my court stands on these laws. I'm establishing what the rights are that my God gave me. This is why it's important to have the beginner law book. Okay, y'all ready? Let's go. So let's get into this thing. Moors versus Moors. Unpacking historical infighting. Now, you guys have heard me several times say that there were many different melanated people in the land fighting. Okay, and let me name them because somebody asked me to name them, and I want to go ahead and do that right now. We had your original people who were in here. Then you had Moors from other lands. We're talking about Morocco and Tunis and Algeria that didn't want to be a part of these other nations. For example, some of them were being exiled because of their religious beliefs, because of their thoughts. They were kicked out of the country. That happened with Columbus. So with Columbus, he was told, or the people at that time were told, listen, you're going to either convert to Christianity, or you're going to leave, or you're going to be killed. That's what they were told. And so with Columbus, one of his reasons why he wanted to do that voyage so bad is because he wanted to find another land so that his people, whomever they were, whether they were Jews or Muslims, but so that his people wouldn't be persecuted. Okay, so those people who were coming over. Then you had your British, which we've been told, made to think, oh, these was Albions. If you're talking about George, this is what I love. George Washington, he was a Moor, but they want to, show him as an Albion character when they're playing him in the movies or what have you. But I want you to think right now, put it in your mind. Every person whose last name is Washington that you know, put it in your mind. And then tell me what their skin color is. I'll wait, but not that long. Yeah, I know somebody whose name is George Washington. He darker than this shirt right here. Okay, so let's get this clear. Those British were coming over. They want to tell you they were Albions, but the truth is those were melanated people. And when you're talking about George Washington, he was a direct descendant of the Queen of England, and the Queen of England at the time, she was melanated. All royalty, as I've said before, all royalty was originally melanated. Okay, then you've got the Moroccans, who are those who are actually have allegiance to Morocco, that were in the land doing certain things. Okay, so I'm gonna say this again. Your original people, so-called Indians, you got some Moors who wanted to break away from any other government, which includes Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli. They didn't want anything to do with so-called royalty. Then you have your British who were in here, and then you got your Moroccans that were in here fighting over the land. Okay, so I hope we're clear on that. Now, I would like to go over some things. We want to first of all break down what a Moor was, M-O-O-R, versus what the Moors were first. And then we're going to go into understanding why the difference is important. We're going to go into understanding why the difference is important. Okay, when we're talking about Moors, and I want to, let me see if I can find this real quick. Put this up on the screen for me, Savvy. All right. So let's understand who these people were that were called Moors and why. When you're talking about Moor, you're talking about a verb that deals with a job done on a ship. Now, I just put in M-O-O-R-E-D, and look at what came up. M-O-O-R. What does this say? To make fast a boat by attaching it by cable or rope to the shore or to an anchor. All right. Moor dealt with a job done on a ship. Let me do this one. M-O-O-R-E-D, M-O-O-R-I-N-G. These are terms that you can look up. Once again, a place where a boat or ship is moored. Okay? So let's be clear that when we're talking about Moors, these were sailors and pirates, mainly coming from lands in the place we know of as Africa. I need to make a note because I do want to touch on something. Because I don't want to forget. All right. So we're understanding what a M-O-O-R is or was. Also, when I go into legal documentation, thank you, Savvy. When I go into legal documentation, one of the things that I also find is that anytime the earliest that I found this term Moor in legal documentation is in the Peace and Friendship Treaty, whereby it's stating specifically there's a group of people called M-O-O-R-S. And they are people who are associated with Morocco. The other people in that Peace and Friendship Treaty of 1787, they were Americans, or people who called themselves Americans. So let's be clear now, they were Moors. Y'all know I call them elite Moors, but they called themselves Americans. And these Americans who were brokering this deal between them and Morocco, they were Moors, they were immigrants to the land. They weren't of the land. And they made that clear in the Declaration. Okay, so we're understanding what an M-O-O-R is. Lastly, I want to say this to you. In my research, what I have found is that these people who were called Moors, they were mainly melanated people. There were some so-called white Moors or Albion Moors, but the vast majority of them were melanated, and the term was given to them because they did work on ships, and it was not a term of endearment. But now today people want to take that term, and it's something prestigious, and it's okay. It's kind of like the N-word, isn't it? Now, melanated people use that term like you're a king if I call you the N-word. Okay. But that's not what it meant originally. But if you want to wear that term like a crown, fine. But I need to make sure you understand and recognize the repercussions of wearing that term as though it's a crown. Okay. So understanding what M-O-O-R is. Let's talk about M-U-U-R. Once again, the oldest known people on the planet, according to science, are those who are from the land known as Muur or Lemuria. And that's where the term Moor, M-U-U-R, came from. So the people who we know, they're called Washatar, M-U-U-R-S, Moors, and they are known to have navigated into the Americas from the land known as Muur or Lemuria. Put this on the screen for me, Savvy. So if you're taking a look here, now this depiction is showing this ocean. However, but according to my research, there was no ocean at this time. As a matter of fact, when the flood came in, this is at this time all of the land was one. So you'll hear about this theory called Pangea theory. Well, at that time there was no ocean, and so everything was considered or was one, where these people could walk across the land. However, once this ocean came and this land was engulfed, it said that these people walked across to the Americas. This would be representative of the Americas here, all of this. And then this would be representative of course, Asia and the lands there. So what my whole point is this. These are the people who navigated into this land known as the Washita Moors, M-U-U-R-S. They would be considered original people of the land known as the Americas. Okay, are we clear on that? Because one of them are pirates and land-stealing thieves who like to go and conquer people. The other one were people who just migrated into the land from the beginning before the flood. Okay, we clear? Now, I need to get into some things tonight, because you get people who will say, thank you, Savvy. You get people who will say, America is the Africa. I need to address this right now. America is Africa, and they switched the names. And it used to be Africa over here. And okay. Let me say this to you, because I'm going to run down some things so you can understand that I know these people play these name switching games. They do it regularly, and we fall for it. And I'm going to point out to you the fact that there's a lot of these so-called states that they're talking about that are new. They brand new. They don't even go back before the 1900s. And it's likely they switched some names. However, after I bring this up, I need to go into the problem with that narrative. So the narrative is that the Americas was Morocco or is Morocco. And then you get people say, oh, the Americas is Egypt. And America is, okay, so let me say this. Egypt, right? When I look up Egypt and the beginning of it or whatever, it says it was incorporated in June 18th, 1953. That was not even that long ago. That's not even 100 years ago. It says Israel was incorporated May 4th, 1948. Yesterday. Okay. Morocco, April 7th, 1956. Algeria, July 5th, 1962. Africa, it goes back to the 1960s. All right. Meanwhile, if I look up Spain, 1492, it was incorporated. I look up Portugal, October 5th, 1143. All right. I'm bringing that up to say this. All of those first 5 lands, Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Israel, Egypt, those are corporations, and we get it. And we know how they switch names. However, I have yet to see any proof of anything anybody's saying about this being Egypt. I've heard it, but I'm not going to regurgitate something without having any backing. So here's where I am, okay, because I'm going to get into this about Morocco and what really was Morocco or not. One of the things that you have people, especially your original people, so-called Indians, that they have a contention with is that there are a group of melanated people that came into this land and conquered the land, or those so-called Moors, and conquered the people in it and disrespected them. Now, I've read you documentation that comes from before the 1800s. And it is a notice that you guys can go and find yourself. I've read this to show how the original people, so-called Indians, had a confederation, and they, in many cases, tried to reach out to those who were running the United States of America. We're not talking about the U.S., because I'm going to get into that. There's a difference between the United States of America versus the U.S. But at this time, when I say United States of America, this is before George Washington. And there is proof that these people were disrespected. Not to mention that I'm going to do a full session on all of those treaties. I'm going to do a full session where I go through it, and then we're going to hear the ancestors speak, and they're going to talk about how despicable Britain was, the United States of America. At any rate, these Indians are saying, or these original people are saying, hey, we tried to reach out to the United States. We want to broker a peace deal because you guys are killing up our people, and we just want peace. We really don't want to have all this fighting, blah, blah, blah. And they were ignored. Okay, so here's the deal. I want to go to recognizing what Morocco is, all right? I haven't seen any proof or anything factual showing that America in any way belongs to Morocco. I just get a lot of people talking about there's a Moroccan Empire that doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, let me go into that right now. So we got this situation where we've got a melanated group of people over here, and they're talking about the Moroccan Empire. I want to go into, let's see. I want to go into Morocco. 1870s Morocco. Let's see what we're looking like. All right. Put this on the screen for me, Savvy. Wait a minute. Okay. So this is the Moroccan Empire of 1780s, okay? According to my research. Now, we're not talking about, this is the Morocco of antiquity, all right? This is the territory that Morocco of antiquity held. And then you've got Algiers here, and you've got Tripoli, and you got Tunis. All of these are pirate states that were work in conjunction with Britain. Because as a matter of fact, if you go and look up the Barbary Company, you're going to find that Britain owned the Barbary Company. And in the Barbary Company were these four states: Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli. All of these right here. Now, this is the territory. And if you recognize this territory here, let me show you where it is. We went the wrong way. Okay, so you'll see here, this is where Morocco is. All right, and so Morocco today, Morocco of today, this is where it is. In history, it said that the Morocco of the 1780s, which I'm dealing with the 1780s right now, was here in this territory here. So let me go back this way. All right, so I just put the overlay on it so that you can see what it is today. It's pretty much the same. Still Algiers here, still Tunis up here, still Tripoli. Okay, so I'm making this distinction so that we can understand that Morocco, according to my research in antiquity, was here in this territory. Okay, here's my thing. One of the things we know about this whole situation with Moors coming in is that they came from another land. We're talking about the 1780s now. And according to the 1780s, when people keep telling me Morocco was in the Americas, well, wait a minute. Did Morocco actually, and somebody put it in the comment section, because I get a lot of Moors that come up and say, well, Morocco was doing this and Morocco, okay. Was Morocco actually in take over Spain? Did Morocco take over Spain? Moors? Did Morocco go into other territories and conquer them? Was that over there, or was that in the Americas? Are you telling me Spain was over here? Are you telling me, what is it, Portugal, all that, was that over here? Because from what I'm recognizing, this is just a small portion of what Morocco had back at the height of their empire. 1780s, they were, I think they were rebuilding because they had lost a lot. They lost a lot of wars in the 1400s. But they were rebuilding, but this was their land, Morocco. So when you're saying to me that it was over here, again, show me some proof, because I don't see it. Everything I'm saying shows it was another place. Okay, so we're going past that, because here now, what I want to establish is, hold on, I want to establish some legal things, all right? And I'm taking my time today because I got a lot to go through. And I hope you hear. I gotta report what I know, because the universe sent this information to me. I'm supposed to put it out. I'm just putting it out. I hope you get it. If not, then I'm gonna see you next time. Let me see. I want to go into this. Where is I gotta get my long list of. All right, so we did mooring there. All right, I need to go into this. Morocco. This is what it says about Morocco at its height. Okay. I don't know. We back? How long was that on? Okay. So anyway, look, check this out. This is Morocco at its height, and this is what I got when I Googled. At its height, which occurred in the mid-14th century, the Moroccan Marinid Empire controlled a vast territory that spanned across a significant portion of North Africa and included a presence of the Iberian Peninsula. The 1400s, however, marked a period of severe decline for the empire. So in the 1400s, it was run by a Marinid Empire. Okay, and then I didn't go deep into that, but basically my whole point is this thing is showing in the 1400s it was over in another land, and it's showing in the 1700s it was over in another land. Okay, so all I'm saying is that a group of people who were calling themselves Moors came from that land into the land known as the Americas, and they began setting up business. Now, why is this important, Diva? Because I'm going to go into some legal documentation. Okay. Before I get into that, I need to establish what you guys are doing. Some of you guys are doing, okay, and why it's a problem. I've said this time and time again that these titles that people use, Morocco is somebody owns that. It's just like your name. For those of us who know to put our name under trust, your name, that all capital letter name, and even our spiritual name, upper and lowercase, they're trademarked and they're copyrighted. They're trademarked and they're copyrighted. The same way with Morocco and all these other Egypt and Israel and Algeria. Those are trademarked and copyrighted emblems. And so you guys are using these logos or these words or these titles, and you're not understanding that they're trademarked. And so when you use them, you're subjecting yourself to the people who own them. Now, I need to put this up on the screen for a second. For those of y'all who are in the know, this right here, and y'all want to talk about, oh, this week with the Moroccan Empire. This is the Moroccan Empire flag right here. That's the, I don't know what it says, but that's the Moroccan Empire. Meanwhile, you guys are flying this flag. Hold on. Let me see if I can get to it. That flag, that's the flag you guys are flying. That flag belongs to the Kingdom of Morocco. Are y'all following me on this? Okay, let me go back because somebody missed it. This right here, this is the Moroccan Empire of antiquity. That was the original flag right there. But you guys are flying this flag. This flag here belongs to the kingdom. That's the one that was created in 1956. And so you guys are flying this flag. That's somebody's trademarked and copyrighted property. And again, legally, you don't understand what you're doing. Moor, that title, who's that title belong to? And everybody keeps trying to go up under these titles and these organizations, and you're not recognizing legally what you're doing. That's not your flag. Even if you said, I'm with the Moroccan Empire, then you turn around and fly this, you're trademark infringing. And you don't even understand it. You don't understand it because you don't know law. And somebody knows that you don't know law. And so they keep playing on your ignorance. And every time you're calling yourself Moor, and every time you're using that flag, you're giving over title to what belongs to you to somebody who's been working against you from the beginning. Okay. City Boy, I want to welcome you. Angel, welcome. Allison, welcome. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comments section so that I can get to them. And Angel says the Muur, M-U-U-R, Americans are not recognized in that treaty. Absolutely correct. The original people were not recognized in that treaty of peace and friendship. That only dealt with those who were calling themselves Americans, which were the elite Moors, and those who called themselves Moors, who were subjects of Morocco. Didn't have anything to do with the original people at all. As a matter of fact, the original people never even signed that contract. I went over that in the last session. Okay, so we're understanding now that you want to make sure that you're not trademark infringing on somebody else's copyright. And we're going to get into this with this case that I was going into a while back called the Heirs of Henry Turner. I said to you guys that I went through and I looked for the original court case, and I had a hard time finding it, and I still have not found it. I have not found that original court case because somebody's hiding it. But I want to go through some things when we're talking about Eliza Turner and some of the other people. I'm going to do a deep dive in Henry Turner. I'm doing a deep dive on Henry Turner today and understanding who he was and who his family was and what this court case said. Okay. Let me see if I want to start here. Okay. Let me first of all make this clear. When it comes to the heirs of Henry Turner, there was a lot of fighting going on concerning the land. A lot of fighting was going on about this land in North Carolina. There's land in North Carolina that people were fighting. Henry Turner himself and his family come from Virginia, but they moved down to North Carolina. And then we want to understand who Henry Turner was. And at this time, this is before 1777. All right. But we're going to get on this document. So let me highlight some things. Thank you, Savvy. Let me highlight some things first. First of all, what we want to recognize again, there are Moors that were coming in to the Americas from other lands. They were melanated people. And their purpose was to get this land, sit on it, and then invite other families over so that they can make money for these different states. These states were called colonies. And a lot of the original people had become citizens of these states, and they would pay taxes to Britain. All right, for whatever protection Britain is saying they're going to give them, or whatever trinkets or whatever they're going to give for access to the land, they would give them that. In return, these people would pay them tribute or treaty, the original people. And then these Moors that were coming in would invite other families to come in and settle into these states or businesses, because that's exactly what they were. Okay. So in this case, Henry Turner was one of those people who actually had gotten land, large tracts of land, and was controlling that land. So what Henry Turner would do is he would get other people who knew families in other countries to come over and settle in those lands. And if you remember, I told you there was this big issue where somebody had contracted to bring families over, and instead of bringing families, they brought a whole bunch of single men, and they wanted money, so they get paid to bring these people over, but they wanted money for bringing these single men over. And whomever it was said, hey, we do not agree to pay you to bring over single men. We want families because we want to make money off of them. But single men, they jump ship and they go all over the place. But we want a family that's going to stay in this territory, cultivate this territory. So don't be bringing no single men. We don't have any use for them. So understand what's going on here is that Turner is at the top of that totem pole. Turner had the ability to bring these people in from other places and then settle them in and make a whole bunch of money. He was a businessman. Okay, so let's understand this court case and what happened. Now, this court case took place in the mid-1800s. And once again, I want to establish that when we're talking about the mid-1800s, a lot of things happened. That was the period of Reconstruction. That was when the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. That there was a spiritual shift at that time. And then there also was the Civil War. Well, what was the Civil War? The civil means law or knowledge of law. All right. So those civil wars were basically wars being fought in court over land. And this is the United States trying to go after everybody for their land. Let me be clear on this. There was the United States of America of 1777, the Republic. And then these people established a United States corporation in 1871. All right. But the United States had already been going. But what happened is the United States would come in and they would act as though they were government, which they weren't. That was Britain running the United States at that time. There was no, the Moors had lost their powers, because remember I talked about how at this time in the mid-1800s, they were starting to get hung, the Moors. All right. So at this time, you got the United States that is fighting people like Henry Turner so that they can gain access to the land. And again, this is Britain in here fighting, trying to control everything. All right. So I want to go into this case. Put this on the screen for me, Savvy. We went over this last time. Where we talked about this document here that was saying the court case versus the United States versus the heirs of Henry Turner. Tunica. This is, and now there had been a previous case where Henry Turner and his family had sued the United States and won. Well, the United States was appealing. And this person who posted this, basically, this is another court case, and they're using the old court case to make their case. And I'm going to read through this, and this is why you don't want to deal with people's synopsis, all right? Because this person misrepresented the case by a lot, and I'm going to show you some things that they misrepresented. And you can see here, this thing was in June 25th, 2020. And that's just yesterday. That's not that long ago. Meanwhile, this case happened in 1850s? Okay, so let's read what this thing says, and then I want to point out some things that are misrepresentative of the case, the heirs, the United States versus the heirs of Henry Turner. Now, this was in the appellate court. In 1850 was an appeal to an earlier case won by the heirs of Henry Tunica called the heirs of Turner Tunica versus the United States. Now, I'm going to say this. I tried to go back and find this case, but the things that I did find, it didn't say nothing about no Tunica. I need this to be made clear. The things that they're putting in brackets here, the things that they're putting in brackets are their additions. Everything they're putting in brackets, that's not what the original case said. He's putting Tunica in here because, once again, he's trying to tie the original people in with this word Turner. Turner, for those of y'all who don't know, that is not an original people name. That's a Moor name. Turner is not an original people name. That's a Moor name. Oh, but you know, you can switch the names. And you can put this letter over here, and you can switch that letter out and put another letter in. No, that's part of how they muddy the waters. Turner didn't come from here. Okay, but I'm gonna let this court case state what it is. In 1848, in other words, on June 6, 1848, a Supreme Court decision read by Theo McCaleb, judge, declared that the United States does not own land. Now, I need y'all to understand, this United States is not the United States of America. It's not. And the problem is, because people don't understand legal documentation and things like that, they're not getting that. This is just a private corporation. All right, but here you got the court, and I can't tell which. Let me see. The appellate court is the United States appellate court is saying United States don't own nothing. Okay, the ancient mound builders of North America, much more than 1 million square miles of land, Moors. This is the real title. Not this. Notice he's putting it in brackets again because he's trying to hijack. He's trying to steal the identity of these original people, are the title holders. And you got to find out that even Henry Turner really was not a title holder. Or he's not an owner of the land. He is a title holder that says you get to inhabit the land. What is that? A tenant on the land is what he is. Turner was a tenant. He wasn't the owner. The owner was the M-U-U-R-S. And we got to find out Turner was not even an M-U-U-R-S. Let's keep going. Because this is what his synopsis, this guy who restated this case, this is his synopsis, and he's being disingenuous. Then he goes on to say, are the title holders, the titles are El Bey, Day, Al, and Ali, translated as the 5 civilized so-called Indian tribes. This is a lie. Choctaw, Washita, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Creek, Muskogees, Seminole, Yamasee. Okay. Also, the court declared. Now, again, I didn't see any of this. All of this stuff right here, I didn't see any of that in the synopsis or the synopsis that I'm going to read. All right. He goes on to say Congress has codified international obligations of the United States. Again, the United States is a corporate entity. It is not the United States of America. In no documentation does it show up as it is the United States of America. They're misusing these terms because most people don't know how to read law. In law, anytime that we're going to say that, okay, the United States means the United States of America, what we're going to do is make a definition. We're going to say, we're going to say the name United States of America. Now spell all that out. And in brackets, we're going to say United States to make it clear that any other time hereinafter known as the United States, if we're going to do that, then we're going to make it clear what United States is. You don't never see that done in any documentation using this term United States because they are purposely misleading you and misrepresenting what United States really means. So I'm letting you know it means a corporate entity that has nothing to do with America at all. All right. And it's owned by Britain. Let me continue. This right here, to be vigorous and flexible, reflecting both the unwavering commitment of the United States to Moorish treaty rights. Now, I'm gonna read through this real quick because this guy, he's trying to use this court case, heirs of Henry Turner versus the United States, to bolster his case that he owns land. But the problem is he keeps flip-flopping. Either you are Moor and you have title to the land, and so you are protected under so-called Indian treaties, or you are a Moorish, and then you got to deal with foreign treaties dealing with Morocco. Which one are you? Let's read through this. To be vigorous and flexible, reflecting both the unwavering commitment of the United States to Moorish treaty rights and the desire of the United States for the most effective and principled response in light of range of violations of Moorish treaty rights by a variety of persecuting regimens and the status of the relations of the United States with the Moorish Empire. Now, this guy, by now, the Moorish Empire doesn't exist. All right, if we're talking about anything after 1950s, which this document came after the 1950s, there is no Moorish Empire. There's a kingdom of Morocco, but he keeps talking about, well, you know, it's the relationship of the United States with the Moorish Empire. And what United States? That's another problem. Because the United States, Britain didn't make that treaty with Morocco. So let me clear up some things. Pay attention. Pay attention. Going back to the Peace and Friendship Treaty. That was between the United States of America Republic and the Moroccan Empire. This treaty happened in 1787 between the United States of America, run by elite Moors, and Morocco. The Moroccan Empire. So he's coming up here to we're in the 1900s now, and he's talking about Moorish Empire between the United States and the Moorish Empire. Now, the Moorish Empire doesn't exist. All right, these people, that goes away. So where's the contract? And not to mention that this was the United States of America Republic that created that. He's talking about the United States. There's a difference. That's Britain. So what is he standing on? If I'm a judge, I can't even tell him that what he's saying is moot. Because there is no agreement between the United States, which is Britain, and the Moorish Empire. There isn't. So what is he standing on? He's standing on air. And so, again, he has no standing. And I can't tell him, if I were a judge, I would just have to look over that or say it's moot. And then I can't tell you why it's moot, but it's moot. I wouldn't be able to, I can tell you why right now, but if I was a judge on this, I wouldn't be able to tell him that, because then that would be an argument. There is no argument. Look, your point is moot. All right, to work with, number 2, state governments that affirm and protect Moorish treaty rights. Once again, if you are of the land, why are you not using the treaties of the land? Why do you keep talking about Moorish when, first of all, there's nothing to stand on there? In order to develop multilateral documents and initiatives to combat violations of Moorish treaty rights. Okay, so right now, by now, we recognize whatever he thinks he's standing on, it doesn't exist. Because he's got to now, if he's going to say, oh, and the Moroccan Empire exists, okay, let's pretend like it exists. Okay, the Moorish Empire is, okay, and in the United States, where is the treaties that you're talking about between these two? Where is it? Don't pull up the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, because those were not between these two entities. I hope this is clear. This is legal stuff, and because we don't know law, we get duped. And we write contracts like this that's flip-flopping all over the place. You are M-U-U-R and then you're M-O-O-R and giving some rights over here, but not supposed to have some rights over here. Stand on one of them, because you look like you wishy-washy. And people come at me and tell me, I'm a Moorish American. And then they want to talk trash when somebody say they're African American. Well, ain't no country called Africa, and ain't no country called America. So then you was what they call you? You are. Yeah, you dead in the water is what they'll tell you. Or you are orphan. That's what they say. That's the term they use. They say you are an orphan if you calling yourself African American. Okay, great. So please tell me the country called Moorish. Where is that? Where is the Moorish country? And then if you tell me, well, it's a Morocco. I'm a Moroccan American. Okay, then let me see you go over there to Morocco and claim some land. They calling themselves Moorish American, and then they want to talk crap to people who call themselves African American. If you say it's Morocco, where is Morocco? That's in Africa. So you just told me you African American is what you just said to me. Again, people are not recognizing the things that they're saying. You're buying into a religious ideal which has no standing at law. I just broke it down to you. Some of y'all gonna be mad at me. I get it, because it's hurting your feelings. I'm shaking the foundation of your religion. I get it. But when you want to know the truth and really find your freedom, let's have this conversation. All right. I just want to see if I want to go through this. In 1978, the Supreme Court of the United States held that all remnants of the Choctaw Nation are entitled to all rights of the federally recognized nation. The American Indian Policy Review Commission Final Report, Volume 1, Chapter 11, page 46, federally recognized the existence of the Choctaw communities of Mobile and Washington counties. Okay, so now he getting back to, again, he all over the place. Well, I'm doing it on this side and this side, because my mom and daddy was on this side and my mom was on this side. Listen, if you're talking about land in the Americas, you must respect and honor the mothers of this nation, because they are the ones who hold title to the land. The mothers, not no Moors, not any other people, but the mothers of this land. See the Iroquois Confederacy. The United States versus Winans, in which the United States or the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that a treaty is not a grant of rights to the Indians, but a grant of rights from them. Any right not explicitly extinguished by a treaty or a federal statute is considered to be reserved to the tribe. Even when a tribe is officially terminated by Congress, it retains any and all rights that are not specifically mentioned. Now, I got to say this, because I'm going to go into, if y'all remind me, I'm going to go into how Indians were made subjects to the federal government, not necessarily the United States. Now, they were tricked with that too. They tricked with that, but how they went into being subjected by the federal government. Now, this clause has resulted in what is known as Congress's plenary power over Indian affairs, which means that Congress has the ultimate right to pass legislation governing Native Americans, even when that legislation conflicts with or abrogates Indian treaties. Pay attention. This right here not even lawful. But if you don't know law, then you don't know how to circumvent these type of things. When we're talking about Congress's plenary power, these people are not federal government. All right. Well, why does it matter? What's the difference? Okay. Remember I told you guys, I'm not even gonna get into yes, I will. Federal, state, city, county. Federal, state, city, county. I told you that there's a hierarchy on the public side and a hierarchy on the private side. All right. When we're talking about federal, I told you where all the money comes from. We're talking about the UPU and all that's federal, because that's dealing with the post office. When we're talking about state, in this case, the state would be even Congress. State would be the United States Corporation. The state would be the state of Tennessee, the state of Texas, the state of Florida. Those are states. And I'm skipping city, you know what city is. But when we're talking about county, county is another sovereign entity. But I want to focus on federal and state. And I need it to be recognized that even the Indians did not understand what it meant to be sovereign. They still don't understand. That's why they end up under the federal jurisdiction. And then the way that they end up under the United States Corporation jurisdiction, watch this, when they incorporate. So pay attention to what I'm saying. I want to show this real quick. Let me go through this real quick, and then I'll go through how they put Indians under their jurisdiction. Another source for the federal government's power over Native American affairs is what is called the trust relationship between the government and Native American tribes. This trust relationship or trust responsibility refers to the federal government's consistent promise in the treaties that it signed to protect the safety and well-being of the tribal members in return for their willingness to give up their land. I'm going to say this again so that we can understand why the original people subjugated themselves. All right. This trust relationship or trust responsibility refers to the federal government's consistent promise in the treaties that it signed to protect the safety and well-being of the tribal members in return for their willingness to give up their land. Now, these tribes still had treaties, but what they would do is they would allow the people to be on the land, and then they would pay taxes to certain things. But in return, they also said, hey, we're going to pay you tribute, but the land still belongs to my descendants. This notion of trust relationship between the Native Americans and the federal government was developed by the U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Marshall in the opinions that he wrote for the 3 cases on tribal sovereignty described above, which became known as the Marshall Trilogy. Now, notice right here, he's talking about sovereignty. All right. He's talking about sovereignty. Now, you notice I go over all the time the membership trust package and how important it is. This is sovereignty. Knowing how to use this is sovereignty. Not knowing this is going to cost you to be a subject to somebody else. And they're going to run over you. Trust. All right? They're going to run over you. When you don't know law, you will be subjugated. I'm going to learn how to. If you put a comment on TikTok, I want you to post it again because I have not learned how to use my little cell phone. Across the other side of the waters. Okay, yeah, that's where they came from, the other side of the water. So my whole point here is for you to recognize how these so-called Indians or these tribes became subject to the federal government, and then eventually became subject to the United States corporation, which is owned by Britain. And to this day, you've got the original people, and we're going to get into who they are still subjects because they don't know law. So you got, I've talked about this, how there were tribes, or a tribe in particular. I saw an article about this tribe that had supposedly lost its sovereignty, that the United States revoked the sovereignty of this tribe because they wanted certain things that the United States was not giving them. So the United States is like, oh, well, we're going to revoke your sovereignty. How? I need y'all to understand, the United States corporation is a dead, fictitious entity. It can't even give sovereignty because it doesn't have sovereignty. So how can it take away the sovereignty of another entity? Well, if it incorporates up under the United States corporation. It's the same way when your mother signed that birth certificate and made your all capital letter name a subject of, you became a citizen, or that name became a citizen of the United States corporation. Well, it's the same thing. So when they incorporated the name of whatever their tribe is up under, whether it was the United States or the federal just did it for them, they became subject because they didn't have knowledge of law. Pay attention, people. Pay attention. This is a whole group of people who, because they didn't know these legal things, they were sovereign forever, ever. They don't have to stay a subject, but they definitely have to know law. So you got this situation here where these Indian tribes, so-called Indian tribes, have become subject, and this guy Marshall, he's got these trilogies, what's called the Indian or the Marshall Trilogy. And I want to pull that up real quick because I want to take a quick look at what it is. All right, put this on the screen for me, Savvy. And I'm going to take some questions. So if you have questions or comments, I do want to hear them. Put them in the comment section so I can get to them before I get out of here. The Marshall Trilogy refers to 3 U.S. Supreme Court cases from the early 19th century: Johnson versus McIntosh, Cherokee Nation versus Georgia, and Worcester versus Georgia. All right, that established the foundational legal principles for federal Indian law in the United States, authorized by Chief Justice John Marshall. These decisions affirmed the principle of tribal sovereignty, defined Native American tribes as domestic dependent nations. Did anybody hear that? Because we want to know when these people were subjugated. All right, now this one happened in 1823, but I told you the original, the Moors, the elite Moors who were in here running the original United States of America, they knew how to deal with the federal side and get funding. And in doing so, they subjugated the original people of the land and made them dependent. And here this guy is, backing that statement. They didn't tell you the elite Moors didn't tell you what they did, but this guy's putting it in legal documentation. These Native American tribes are domestic dependent nations, meaning they do not have standing. They are children. They are imbeciles. They do not know law, and they are childish. And established the federal government's exclusive authority over land transactions with tribes. Had they known law, because this organization right here, let's see. First of all, Chief Justice John Marshall, let's be clear who he works for. Let's be clear. If he had a bar so-called license, which is really a membership, and he's with Britain. These judges, these courts, lawyers, they were never for you in the first place. If you don't know law, you're going to become a subject. And so here you got these Indians who think, oh, we got a nation, and the federal, they're like, in the federal, the so-called federal, there's always going to be a state entity right next to federal. They're going to call themselves federal, but they really state because they got to do a job for the federal. The federal really is the people. The federal really is the people. So federal has to hire another entity. The entity is going to, in most cases, be from Britain. And they'll say, yeah, we're going to provide this service for the public. And so here you got this organization, or you got John Taney, what's his name? Yeah, Justice John, John Marshall, who's saying, what we're going to do is we're going to make them domestic dependent nations. And then they have to come through us, and we're going to protect them from whatever. But, we're going to make sure they have land that they need, and we're going to protect their land for them. This case established the doctrine of discovery, asserting that Native American tribes did not hold original title to their land, but rather a right of occupancy. You're a tenant on the land. You got the right to be a tenant. The federal government, through its sovereign power, which it does not have any power, held the exclusive right to negotiate land transfers from Native American tribes. Here's the problem with this. This is contrary to what law is. Any treaty is going to stand above any kind of so-called governmental or court case. Court cases are low on the totem pole when it comes to law. So if there's a treaty already established that these people have said the land belongs to us and it's in the name of our people, then these people come back and say, well, American tribes do not hold original title to their land, but rather a right of occupancy. They told you a tenant. Well, if you know how to work a treaty, you can switch all that around. This whole trilogy thing. All right, Cherokee Nation. The Supreme Court classified Native American tribes as domestic dependent nations, meaning they were not fully sovereign like independent countries, but possessed a unique status. I just gave you a status. You an Indian. So we're going to give you some piece of land over here. We're going to give you a little stipend every month. And then, you can go fishing wherever you want to go fishing. That's it. But we get to keep your land. And we get to negotiate. Yeah, they don't know law. Worcester versus Georgia. This ruling clarified the relationship between tribes and state and federal governments. See that term state in there? Hold on. I don't know why I could have. Sorry, peoples. Here you go. There you go. See that term state and federal governments? There ain't no state. State is just a corporation. But there's state entities that run federal operations. And so what happens is, if they knew who they were, they could get up under both of them. Because if you know law and you know how to deal on the federal side, then they don't have the right to be coming in here talking about, well, you're a dependent nation and you're not really sovereign. See, they have already put the so-called Indians up under their umbrella and told them and degraded their status already. Took the land and says, well, hey, no, you don't really own it. You can just be on it. You don't own the rights to it. It's like, what? And they don't know law, so they didn't know how to combat this. This ruling clarified the relationship between tribes and state and federal governments. The court stated that states lacked jurisdiction on reservation lands, establishing the federal government as the sole authority to deal with Indian nations. So if the state or the popo come up on the casino on the Indian land, they got to go. As a matter of fact, you can't even come on this land. You're not invited here. This is not your jurisdiction. That's what they're saying. State can't do that, but federal can, because they gave them the right to do that. Okay, so that's once again how the Indians were made to be subjects. Okay, going back to this document here, and I think I'm pretty much done with this one. I need to get into this. I need to get into this document here. So let me say this. Going back to this, we've already established whoever wrote this, they have misrepresented this court case with these things here. The titles are El Bay de Choctaw. This is a misrepresentation of what this case is about. This person, whomever it is, they just came in and put some extra sauce on it to make it be something that it's not. And I need to go into this. All right. This is Eliza Turner. And here we go with that tunica. And John Drew Quitman played an important role in our heritage. They were a part of the landmark court case, Free Women and Men, also referred to in law as free white persons. Now, pay attention, peoples. Pay attention, because when we start talking about white, y'all about to make me, hold on. No, I don't want to pull it up. All right, let me just state this. Y'all can go pull down the SF 181 form, and it tells you what white deals with. And white deals with 3 different entities. The original people of Europe, your people from North Africa, not South Africa, just North Africa, and one other group of people from the Middle East. All 3 of those are melanated peoples. All 3 of those groups are melanated people. Those are only 3 groups that white deals with. Nothing else, just these 3 groups. That being said, those 3 groups of people come from someplace else. They don't come from the Americas, they come from someplace else. So when we're talking about free white people, and these people, she's talking about Drew Quitman and Eliza Turner from, and they want to call her Tunica. Okay, we're going to get on that. They're free white persons. Yeah, they were melanated, but they came from someplace else. Note the status of the descendants of Moorish, and this person is right. The status of the Moorish descendants, people from Morocco, Spain and Portugal, all of them from another land, they were known as free white persons. And person means a dead fictitious entity. And then see, that's why I mean these people don't know law. He want to come in and say it means natural men and women. Persons, if you put the term persons behind anything, you're talking about a dead entity. A person is a dead entity. Let's be clear on that. So you're going to call yourself something, call yourself the people. I get it. It's hard to change our language, but I'm making it clear. So this status does not apply to the Caucasians race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races. under the Naturalized Act amended by Act July 14, 1879. Okay, so I need to go down here. The United States does not own the land of the ancient ones, Usakskatun, mound builders of North America. Agreed. Much more than 1,000 square miles of land, Moors, M-U-U-R-S. Why do they turn around and then put this term on here, which has nothing to do with the original mound builders? And that's what I mean when I say the hijack or the muddying of the historical waters. These are two different groups of brown people. Everybody want to act like, we got to be one and we got to come together. And I get it. But let's be clear. In the Bible, there was two melanated people, two groups of melanated people fighting. One was the Egyptians. The other one was the Israelites. Were these the same people? Not according to the Bible. All I'm saying is, what is the facts here? What is the truth? Because people keep muddying the water, and the Moors and Moors, they're the same. You want to say, hold on. We just read this. You just said that the free white persons, they came from somewhere else. Spain and Moorish inhabitants in America. Spain, Portugal, and Moorish inhabitants on American soil. Those were considered free white persons, meaning all those people came from somewhere else. Those were Moors. Then you want to turn around and say, the United States not on the land, the ancient people, the mound builders, the Moors, M-U-U-R-S, then you put this term on there. You're being disingenuous. Notice it's in brackets because it's a lie. Are the title holders. The titles are Choctaw, Washita, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Creek, Muskogee, Seminole. Also, the court declared the lawful landowners are the heirs of Henry Turner, Washita. Okay, that's a lie. The courts determined, and we're going to get into the court case. We're going to show you exactly what the courts can determine. Let me go into this. The United States court found that the neutral strip, 3 million acres in the said U.S. Listen, when I'm reading this as somebody, if I were a lawyer, I'm a civil supreme, by the way, and that's higher than a lawyer and your judges because there are things that I can say and do that they can't. Civil supreme. That's what I train my students to be. Civil supremes. Civil, meaning knowledge of the law. Supreme, meaning highest knowledge of the law. And there are things that we can do and say, and things that we can see, that when I'm reading these documents, if this person brought these to me and I was going against them, I would shred them with their own documents. I need to make that clear. So, not including Canada and other territories of land that was defined not a part of the territory ceded to the United States. Acres of land by the state of Louisiana, designated Washita proper, Washita Terra. Terra means land. This document in the National Archives of Washington, D.C., the mound builders, the United States has recognized its empire, Washita de Dugamondia, as the indigenous people of North America. Okay, I can respect that. But that doesn't say nothing about Moors, M-U-U-R-S. I want to find this case, and then we're going to get into this. All right, this was appealed from the District Court of the United States for District Court of Louisiana. It was a petition filed in the District Court by the appellee who claimed a tract of land under Mason Rouge. Okay, I need to go into this. All right. This is not the one I want. I need to show you guys something. So let's be clear. At this time, and the time we're talking about is in the 1700s, there were a lot of people coming into the United States, as I had already said, and they were establishing land and territory. They were setting up the territory that they wanted, because what they would do is bring in families so that they can make money off of them, and sometimes they would make money federally. Okay, so when they bring in, it's just like now, every time a citizen, so-called citizen, is born in the United States get about $1 million, and they take that $1 million and they put it in some kind of fund and they allow it to multiply. And they were doing the same thing back then. This is not new. They just have advanced it a lot as far as the process goes. But these people, and Henry Turner is included, he's from what we know of as Virginia, but he moved to North Carolina, and he got some land some kind of way, which, again, I'm still doing my research on who Henry Turner is, but I'm going to tell you what this court case says Henry Turner is, and I'm going to let you judge for yourself. All right. The United States Appellates versus Sarah Turner, the wife of Jared D. Tyler, who is authorized and assisted herein by her said husband, Eliza Turner, wife of John A. Quitman, who in the like manner authorized and assisted by her said husband, Henry Turner and George W. Turner, heirs and legal representatives of Henry Turner, deceased. Okay, so all this case, decision of this court of the case of United States versus King. This is the closest I could get to the original document. This is the judge speaking on his thoughts about the case. Just reading here, this was an appeal from the District Court of the United States for the District Court of Louisiana. It was a petition filed in the District Court by the appellees who claimed a tract of land under Maison Rouge grant. Now, these people from France, these are French folks. Maison Rouge, they came over either to buy the land so that they can bring families over here, or to just bring families. But we're going to get into it so you can see what happens. Okay, so Supreme Court, the district court decided in favor of the petitioners, and the United States appealed to this court. It was submitted by Mr. Crittenden, Attorney General for the United States, upon the ground that this court had already decided in the case of the United States versus King. King was somebody else from France that created some kind of land deed that the courts found was invalid. And again, this is the United States trying to take all these people to court so they can get this land back. All right, Mr. Chief Justice Taney delivered the opinion of the court. This is an appeal from the decree of the District Court of the United States of the District of Louisiana. The proceedings were instituted by the appellees against the United States according to the Acts of Congress of May 26, 1824 and June 17, 1844, and they claim title to a parcel of land in the state of Louisiana under an instrument of writing executed by the Baron de Caradon de Lette on the 20th of June, 1797, in favor of the Marquise de Maison Rouge. The conveyance by which they deduced title to themselves from him are set forth in the petition. Now, when they're talking about a conveyance, they're talking about a contract. And what's the contract that was created? The case turned altogether in the district court upon the construction and effect of the document above mentioned, and this is the only question arising on this appeal. Hold on. I said something over here. Hold on. I got notes. All right. So this guy, Marquise de Maison, a Spanish politician, German Burgundy descent. This guy comes from Spain. No, excuse me, Baron de Caradon de Lette. He comes from Spain, Germany. This guy, Marquis de Mason, this is a French knight, a royalist who was exiled from France. He's a French knight, and he was forced to flee in 1795 to New Orleans, who received a land grant to colonize Ouachita region, which is this region in South Carolina. So I need y'all to understand the game. Once again, these people are like Columbus. They're trying to find a place to go so they're not persecuted for their religious beliefs because they're getting kicked out of their country. Okay, so the appellees insist that this instrument of writing conveyed to the Marquis de Maison Rouge either the legal or equitable title to the 30 superficial leagues of land described in the plan of Trudeau annexed to the instrument. But the question which they propose to raise has already been decided. The instrument under which they claim title under the consideration of this court is, in the case of the United States versus King. I need to skip down here. The question was then fully and carefully examined and considered, and the court held that this instrument of writing conveyed no interest in the land to Maison Rouge and his private property, and that it was intended merely to mark out by certain and authorized to form, according to the stipulations of a previous contract which he had entered into with the Spanish government. Now, let me go on here, because here's the thing. And is regarded that previous contract, the court said, and as regarded that previous contract, the court said, it will be observed that this contract contains no stipulation in favor of Maison Rouge. All the engagements on the part of the government are in favor of, did y'all see that word right there? The immigrants who should accept the conditions. One second. Have we established that Henry Turner was melanated in 1795, holding that land? We back here in this time, because really the people who own that land in 1700s, that was Turner. Turner supposedly had control of that land in the early 1700s. His Henry Turner, his brother John Turner, and some other people, some of his other family members, they held that land. So this document here is calling the heirs of Henry Turner, calling them immigrants. And what is an immigrant? An immigrant is someone who leaves their home country. Are we clear on this? I didn't make this up. This is what the court case says. And this decision here doesn't say anything about the, Ali, Bay, Day, and it doesn't even mention the 5 civilized tribes. It calls Henry Turner and his family immigrants. I need to make that clear. This is why this is why Diva Lyri does not read people's synopsis. And this guy in this other document up here is straight up going in. The El Bay Day and the Choctaw, Chickasaw Creek and Seminole. When the case never said anything, it never mentioned any of these tribes or these other titles. But if you believe this, then you're gonna walk into court trying to claim something on something that really does not give you any standing. And let me say this to be clear, even dealing with the Indians, when you know law, you create your own nation, and everybody has to respect it, even federal. You don't get federal talking about, well, you don't really own it. See, what we just doing, we letting you lease it. You just be able to get on it. No. When you know law, you know how to stand. You say, no, that's not how that works. That's not. So this is my land. So what I'm going to do, I need you to route funds. And I need you to do this, this, and this if you're going to be on the land. Otherwise, I need you to get off the land. You have the right to say that. And you have the right to call on forces to back you up if they try to give you an issue. You do. But you got no law. All right. Let me continue. The bottom line is Henry Turner and family were holding the land and brokering deals to bring families from other countries to make money off the families. But Henry got double-crossed. He got double-crossed. Who double-crossed him? France and Britain and all, because that's what they do. They double-cross. If they're going to double-cross the Indians, they're going to double-cross you too, Henry. You double-crossed the Indians. You think it's just you. You think they good with me because we making money. They'll knock you out. So he got double-crossed. And the courts are making it clear. These people are not of the land. They told you, we in favor. The United States don't own nothing. Mason Rouge don't own nothing. Cote de Colette, he don't own nothing. But we're going to give it to you, y'all immigrants. It's in favor of you immigrants. I need that to be made clear. So when people talking about the heirs of Henry Turner, according to this document, the heirs of Henry Turner are not even of this land. This means, as I said from the beginning, if you are not of the land, you don't have a right to be dealing in any contracts concerning the land. You can't sell the land because you don't own it. You from somewhere else. You're an immigrant. Real quick, I want to get into this and it is the duty of the court to expound them accordingly, and they are both strikingly unlike the grants for colonization authorized by the laws of the Indians, and equally unlike the grants usually made by Spanish authorities to persons undertaking to introduce into the province a certain number of colonists. Okay, so let me go into this and what this is talking about. So these people, Baron de Strap and Mason Rouge, what they did was they created some kind of contract or agreement between whoever it was that they were trying to get the land from. And in doing so, instead of it being a private agreement, it was an agreement whereby they got paid by the so-called government to bring people in. So that's how they determined whether or not this contract that they had was valid or not. All right. So their whole idea was, all right, the Strap and Mason Rouge says, yeah, we got this contract, from Henry Turner, we had rights to the land and we drew up this contract, or this contract was drawn up or whatever. So, we're supposed to have the land and have access to the land. And the judge got to looking at the particulars of the case. And the question was, is this a private contract or is this a public contract? All right. So his thing was, if it's a private contract, then maybe that's, we could say that, yeah, he drew this up and he gave it to you because it's private. But it's not private, it's public, because you asking the government for money. And if you ask the government for money, this is a public contract. And that means that this document here that you're talking about is null and void. Because there's no way he could have given it to you and given you all these rights you're saying you're supposed to have if you're telling me this is a governmental contract. So that's why this court case was ruled in favor of the immigrants, known as Henry Turner and family. Normally, the government does not have to pay colonists to be on the land. That makes the contract private, but if the government pays for it, then the land is public domain. And that was the issue in this case. But the bottom line that I wanted to make sure we understood is that Henry Turner was not of this land. He wasn't no Choctaw, Cherokee, and all that stuff. That it called them immigrants, which means that these are people who came, they left their homeland to come to another place. That means that they don't have entitlement or entitlement to any land in the Americas. All right, public authorities, and not from the Strap or Mason Rouge, they would seem, therefore, to be no equivalent or consideration for it. So it's going on talking about the contract that the court is looking at. And if the land designated for the establishment remained national property and was not severed by these instruments from the national domain, it passed to the United States as public property by the Treaty of Cessions. Well, basically, this thing is making it clear that these people were immigrants. All right. If I got any questions, put the question in the comment section. The question above mentioned had been decided against the United States by the district court according to the Louisiana practice. All right. So I'm done with that. Real quick, and then I'm going to take some questions. I did a deep dive into Henry Turner, and the main thing we know is he came from Virginia, him and his family. He got one sister and a whole bunch of brothers, and they married into a family from another country, and Turner went on to have a lot of land and what have you. But the bottom line is these people are considered immigrants according to the court. They're not considered of the land like what that document was trying to make him out to be. So James Finley, who was it? Just real quick, just real brief so we can, and then I'm going to answer questions. I thank you all for joining. So in 1753, James Turner acknowledged Karen Happuck, his wife, of Prince William's County. By the way, let me go up here so I can tell you what how that North Carolina place was set up. Very interesting, and then I'm gonna move on. All right, Culpeper County, Virginia, researched the Finney connection. Henry was said to have been born in 1721. Mr. Robert Turner, who was a resident there in 1773 and who was church warden for a couple of years beginning in 1733. Henry would have been about 10 years old at this time. The fact that these two men were appointed to these posts shows that they had some substance and influence in the community. James Finney, in an instrument dated February 18, 1764, willed a piece of property in Culpeper County, Virginia, to my well-beloved brother-in-law, Henry Turner, land at Rawlins and Rice Divided Corner. All right. It goes into Henry Finney. Y'all can look him up. But again, these are some influential people at the time. Henry had a sister who married James Finney and brother by the name of George James Rentley Walker, Underwood, Barber, Throckmorton, and Madison Turner. All right, so those were his relatives. Robert Turner in 1773, living near Isaac Norman, who was the father of Karen Happuck Norman Turner, the wife of James Turner. Robert Turner and Catherine, his wife, of St. George Parish, Spotsylvania County, deeded to James Rawlins of said parish and county for 20 pounds current money, 40 acres in Spotsylvania County, part of tract conveyed to said Robert Turner by Roland Thomas, and part of a patent granted said Roland Thomas. In 1727, the deed was witnessed by Edmund Waltz, Lewis, and George Woodruff. I want to read through this real quick because I want to get to the land, about how they sectioned the land. James McCullough, using Jonathan Finney by his attorney Robert Turner, said he is not guilty. So this is a court case that James McCullough was suing Finney, and the attorney was none other than Robert Turner. Robert Turner is the brother to Henry Turner. At the time this event took place, Henry Turner would have been but a boy, 13 or 14. Again, I just did a deep dive because I wanted to know what's going on. I want to get into the area that they actually ended up taking over. Let me see if I can find it up here real quick. There was an area that they ended up taking over, and They talked about how they divided it up and why the streets were named what they were named. Here it is. All right. In 1708, the Lord's proprietors realized this was a logical spot for a seaport. Let me go back. I'm going to start from this paragraph and then I'm going to take questions. Since the first landing by the French Huguenots in 1709, North Carolina, this was Buford, North Carolina, has been visited by patriots, privateers, and pirates alike. It's North Carolina's third oldest town, right after Bath and New Bern, and was surveyed in 1713. Originally a fishing village and port of safety, the town is the country seat of Carteret Country. It was built on the site of the Indian village, Warriak, which means fish town or fishing village. And until it was incorporated in 1722 as Buford, it was known as Fishtown. Now, in 1708, the Lord's proprietors realized this was a logical spot for a seaport town, made a land grant for that purpose. In 1713, Robert Turner, a promoter, had 200 acres surveyed and lots and streets laid out. The present street names reflect the early development of the town. Ann Street for Queen Anne, Craven Street for Earl and Craven, Moor Street for Colonel Maurice Moor of South Carolina, who gave help to the Indians in the war. Queen Street is a second tribute to Queen Anne. Pollock Street for the governor at the time of the 1713 survey, Thomas Pollock. Orange Street for William, Prince of Orange, who became William III of England. And finally, Turner Street for the man who had the vision, Robert Turner. So I just saying this to you. According to, thank you, Savvy, and I'm ready to take some questions. According to the courts, these people were immigrants, meaning they came from someplace else. So for this document to keep talking about, oh, they were the M-U-U-R-S, they're being disingenuous. They're lying to you. These people were M-O-O-R-S. And why is that an issue? The bottom line is that there are two groups of people in this land, and they're still fighting to this day. And the problem is that those who really do own the land, they are fast asleep. And they haven't done their research on who they are or what their lineage is. And then not knowing law, if you don't know who you are and you just, oh yeah, I'm a Moor. As I've said to you, the same way those Indians incorporated their Indian tribe up under, whether it was federal up under U.S. jurisdiction, and then some kind of way they end up losing their sovereignty. That's exactly what you'll find with these Moorish science temples. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them were incorporated under the U.S. And if you're incorporated under the U.S., you cannot be sovereign. You cannot be sovereign if you don't know law. If you're sitting up under federal and you're ignorant of who you are, you're going to be subjugated, because the people who are running the federal are the state. And if you don't know the difference, you're going to do business, and then you're going to, again, find yourself with rights that are being taken away from you because you don't know law. You got to know it. So my whole deal here today is two things. Number one, recognize that there are two different groups of brown people. Recognize the truth about the history, and don't just let people tell you any old thing, because this mess has got to be sorted. There's still fight today, and you can't just say, oh, well, these my brown people over here, and these my brown people, and then you wonder why we keep hearing, well, you know, we all got to come together as one. When we going to come together? When you going to come together as one when you know the truth? Because at least now you can respect who you're dealing with. All right, you got to know the truth. And then number two, understand the importance of knowing law. If you want to protect yourself, you're not going to just be able to stand up on somebody and say, we're going to protect you. No, they won't. They're going to devour you. Because that's what happens to people who do not know how to stand. You have no standing, you become an imbecile. And the only thing people who like to control things do is they walk over and step on imbeciles. Don't be an imbecile. You got the right to know law now. All right? I want to thank y'all for joining. I love y'all. Let me see if I have any questions. Where did the Spanish and Portuguese Moors in the Americas go? And did they mix in with the American Indians like the Cherokee? They mixed in, yes, because remember, it's two brown people. So not to mention, I always tell people we mix with all kind of stuff because, you know, the Moors were sleeping with anything that had legs. Let's be clear on that. Albions, Indians, other Moors, they didn't care. It's got legs. Okay, so we mix with some of everything. And so my whole point of making the history clear is because even though we're mixed, spiritually, we're the same entities. And you got to know what your heritage is, understand what your lineage is, so you can recognize where you came from and clear up the spiritual baggage. I need that to be made clear. Because everybody wants to just say, oh, it don't matter. Anybody who's telling you that, and then you see melanated people getting this energy, you need to understand where it came from. Don't let them tell you that, because you got to recognize the true history. What they say, if you don't know your history, you what? Somebody repeat it for me. You know how it goes. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. You got to know it. As hurtful as it is, because all of us did some dirt, all of us. I didn't want to go back to the whole, what was that? What did they call the Black Wall Street? If you want to go the Black Wall Street, who were those people truly? Now, they were melanated, but who were they truly? And how did they build that? When you go and do a deep dive into the history of where the money came from to put all of that together, the whole Black Wall Street, you want to understand who's underneath it, where the funding was coming from. It was coming from people who fight this community till this day. They pretend like they're a friend to the community, but they're not. They'll inject a lot of money into the community, and then they'll straight up tear the whole community down. And they'll use other people to tear the community down. And you'll think, what? You think it's somebody because of their skin color. And you don't understand the game. So I'm not going into that today, but thank you for that question. Hold on. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, but just to finish up the question, we all mixed in. So let me say this. I've done this session where we go into how the Spanish, they married into the people, the original people of the territory. And they were melanated. We got a whole little chart that's showing them all these brown people coming from Spain, King Charles and King whoever, coming in from Spain, brown, my color. So we all mixed in here. The Moabites were destroyed as a people according to the Bible prophecies from Jeremiah. Okay. Tunica, the Indians, that's in Louisiana and Mississippi. There are a lot of Turners here. All right. Find the real Tunicas, because those Turners probably married into the Tunicas. I need you to understand that. Oh, no, they're going to be the same thing. But this court case said those people are immigrants. Meanwhile, you got somebody misrepresenting. Meanwhile, you got somebody who's misrepresenting the court cases as though these people actually are original to the land, when the court case says, no, they're not. They're immigrants. All right. So check it. Because again, you got people from other lands that have mixed in with the original people. And I need y'all to understand the only way, this is why they want to use MOOR and put it with MUUR. And MOOR deals with maritime. That's a maritime product, a maritime title, water, sea, nothing dealing with land. MUUR are the original people of the land. And the only way that these people can get title is if they tie this garbage title on to the original people of the land. That's the only way. And so when you have this court case presented like that, I don't know how they are looking at it, because a lot of times, as you've been told, everybody knows who melanated people are but melanated people. But if I knew, if I was sitting in as the judge and I saw this stuff come across my table, I would find a way to rectify it. Either I would call it moot or I would chop it up. So I don't know what these judges do, but it wouldn't pass. It wouldn't pass at all. I was like, you need to show me a lineage, and I need to know where the family comes. I would already know. As a judge, if I'm dealing with these kind of cases, I would already know. Then you come to me with Turner and you say, yeah, my cousin, grandmama, dad, and sister, uncle, brother was here in Turner. Okay. Then I know who you are. And then when you start telling me you have entitlement to land and you calling yourself a Moor, yeah, I do you like they did that guy in the Dred Scott case who called himself African. He said, I'm African. And they told him, oh, you don't have no title here. Because he called himself African. That's the Dred Scott case. And I'm going to end up going over that sometime soon too. But the terms African, African American, colored, Negro, black, those don't have any standing. So if you walking in the court talking, I'm this and that, well then you don't have rights to own anything. And you told me you're an imbecile. If you got a lawyer, you told me you're an imbecile. I'm just saying, you got no law. What about the name Moabites? Did the Moors come from them like it's being said? Okay, so let's talk about, remember, Moor doesn't have to do with necessarily Morocco, but legally, if we're talking about that title, it always referred back to those who are from the land of Morocco. However, Moors came from Britain, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, Montezuma, so that it doesn't have anything to do with skin color or race or anything like that. But the Moabites would be cousins or relatives to the Israelites. However, we, according to scripture, the Moabites and everybody else around them raised up against them to enslave them. That's another story. I'm not going into that. But yeah, Moors are from everywhere. All right, because it just deals with those who are who sail, people of the sea. Just answering questions by people in TikTok. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Does your trust come with an equity court? Does your trust expire after 25 or 100 years? So thank you for that question, Elkiman. When first of all, we insure our trust with our registered mail labels, and those are for 99 years, 99, 100, whatever, 99 years. But you can reestablish a trust at any time. All right. An equity court, if you have any issues with any of your trust documents or anything that you need help with, definitely UNA, we have a federal court and we gladly help you. We step in for you when there are issues. All right. You have to pay for the services, but yes, we do have a court to help you with that. And let's understand, your regular degular lawyer is not going to understand, what you need. Now, provided that you haven't done some crazy stuff, like I'm just going to say crazy stuff. Provided that you're in standing with laws of universal laws and maximum, it's provided that you're in standing with that, we're going to step up for you. All right. I want to welcome everybody. Nubian, Althea, welcome. Elkiman, Linnea, Nia, welcome. Peace family, I finally caught it. All right, Nia. Nubian, thank you for the love. Nora. All right, I'm just getting through these questions. If y'all have any questions, ask me before I get out of here. Immigrant versus immigrant. Okay, so thank you for that question, 13J, because I looked it up. Pay attention. Immigrant with the E are people who have left their home and come to another place. Immigrant with an I are those who are coming in to a new place. All right, so the immigrant with the E are those who have left their place, and the immigrants with an I are those who are coming into a place that's new, that is a new place, a new home for them. All right, that's the difference. Thank you for the question. Roma says, repeat it. Repeat what? Tell me what to repeat. I repeat it. So that's why a Cherokee chief was pictured with, wearing a turban. I don't know where you saw that, Linnea, but listen, there are a lot of original people who, again, they're not understanding this game that's been played on them. And you see these chiefs or what have you, and again, if you're going to get your federal funding, that's fine. But if you don't know law, please understand that you're going to be walked on. Your rights are going to be walked on. And that's the unfortunate thing when I see different tribes out here. But, again, you have the right to create your own tribe. You have the right. And that's what we teach in UNA. We show you how to do that. We show you how to protect your assets. We show you how to, put all of your assets under an umbrella such that they're not found, and they're not, people are not trying to find them and come after you for your assets. So those are the things that we go through in UNA University. So I encourage you all to get in it if you really want to know how to protect yourself and learn law, okay? Gary trying to blow my head up, trying to make me big-headed. What you doing, Gary? Gary said, you stay on point like an arrow, queen. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate the love. Elderman says, Miss Diva, is the first call free with you? When you enroll, we're definitely going to give you a free consultation, definitely. So whether you get a trust package or whether you get coming to the university, we're definitely doing a free consultation. If you just want to have a consultation, we will send you a link so that you can pay for it. But come on into the class. Stop playing, Elkiman. You've been with me for how long? You know this stuff is real. Let's go. Stop playing. Gary says, Moabite, Utah. Yes, they would. Canaan, Amorite, Hittites were all melanated in Hebrew, just not Israelite. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Elkiman says, you're on fire tonight. Jessica says, I received my autograph book. Hey, Jessica, did you like it? Tapping into supernatural powers. I love it. Jessica, I'm going to need you to write me an email, please. I want to know what you liked, what you didn't like. So Jessica got an autographed copy of, thank you, Jessica, for being here, of Tapping Into Your Supernatural Powers. I love this book. I mean, I'm not saying that just because I wrote it, but it's a good book, especially for the research that's in it that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about this book. And also, it does have the QR codes, okay? It's got QR codes so that you can scan this and you can get the audio of all of this. It's got the references. It's got places in here where you can take notes because I want you to take notes. And then it's got beautiful images. Beautiful. I love it. So thank you so much, Jessica, for getting the book. If you guys are interested in the book, find it at unauniversity.com. unauniversity.com. Okay, so do I have, hold up. I got to get my people in TikTok. I got all these people. Let me see. Documents, thank you for the love. I really do appreciate it. I think I'm freezing up over there. Hold on for a second. I'm going to try to keep from messing this up. All right. You are bound to repeat it. Thank you, Saladin. Saladin says, yes, if you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it. Adrian, thank you for the love. French Toast, thank you for the love. Electric Magnet, thank you. Dalchimus, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Let me see. We've got Angel Fly. Thank you so much for the love. Thank you for joining. All right, so listen, I want you all to know, I want you to know I thank you. I appreciate you for listening, okay? I put this information out because the universe gives it to me to put it out, to share it. I'm just logging it. Thank you for taking the opportunity, the time to listen to it. What I care to see is that we create nations where we are sovereign and we know law, and then we join with each other. All right. So UNA is a nation of nations, and that's what we do. We help other people become nations, and then we stand as one. Because if it's just a whole bunch of people standing under one umbrella and you don't know law, then you're not really helping the nation. All right. We need you to be a strength and a power in the nation. All right. So you're a powerful nation within another powerful nation, so then we can all help each other. All right, I want y'all to know I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to go get the book, unauniversity.com, tapping into your supernatural powers. I'm yours truly, Diva Lyri. I want y'all to know I love you. I appreciate you. I thank you. I'm gonna see you next week. Bye bye. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Give me a hug.